Welcome back to the podcast, ladies. In this episode, I am doing an extended audio version of my latest Medium blog, available on medium.com. Just head to medium.com and search Awakening Women in the search bar, and my blog should come up. You can subscribe and enter your email, and then every time I publish a blog, it will be sent right to your inbox. So in this episode, we're diving into why you can't have a healthy relationship with someone who gets mad at you for expressing your feelings about something they did. So I did a post on Instagram actually that went, I would say viral, because it is now at, where are we? 68.1k likes, and it got shared almost 13,000 times, and it has at this point 364 comments. So it really hit a lot of nerves and struck a lot of nerves, and it was, you'll never feel safe with a man who gets angry at you for being upset over something they did. So I decided to elaborate on this a little more on my Medium article. So here we go. Masculine dominant men are not our girlfriends, and they don't relate emotionally like we do with other women. They're more solution-oriented and logical, which are masculine traits, while we are more intuitive and emotionally led, which are feminine traits. And I want to note here, we all have some masculine, some feminine. There can be more feminine trait men and more masculine trait women. So just so you know, I'm not talking about gender or anything here, and this isn't about patriarchy or anything like that. It's just literally that there are masculine and feminine traits, masculine and feminine energy, and I'm not going to go too deep into a lesson on that here, but just enough so that we can understand what masculine and feminine traits are. However, this doesn't mean that a man should have zero care about how their actions and words may impact us, and they most definitely should not be getting angry or nasty when we share our feelings or stand up for ourselves against their behavior. This is emotional manipulation and emotionally abusive behavior when it occurs as a consistent pattern every time you express your feelings about their conduct. If your partner says something insensitive or behaves in a way that you don't like, you have a right to speak up. And as a loving partner should do, he will be receptive to your expression, because they don't want to hurt your feelings, right? And this is the key. Someone who loves and cares for you will listen and avoid doing those things in the future because they value you and they don't want to lose you over something they have done. Now, I'm not talking about unhinged, emotional vomiting your words or responding with destructive behavior yourself. No. I'm talking about expressing your feelings about how something they did has impacted you. Many times we women think we're expressing our feelings, but we are not. We are reacting, complaining, and attacking back. We are only ever in control of our own responses and developing mastery around our emotions, getting clear on what we feel and why, and then expressing it calmly is how we take ownership over our own behavior. When I first started my emotional healing journey, this was decades ago, a long time, it was like an emotional waterfall at first. So much was pushed down from decades of disowning my feelings and truth. But as within, so without. When we are denying our feelings, minimizing them, and pretending like we don't really feel how we feel, we invite others to do the same to us. And this is why the work is always within us. The emotional healing journey requires becoming present and being in our body, attuning to our emotional state, moving the emotion through the emotional body, slowing down, being quiet and being silent, understanding our past trauma triggers versus normal present-day emotional responses to upsetting events, validating our own feelings first. If you're ready to elevate your life and break toxic relationship patterns, beginning with your emotional work will pave the way for deep change and lasting transformation. Anything and anyone that is no longer aligned with this version of you will fall away as you rise to new levels of emotional mastery. And so that's where I really wanted to clarify and just kind of do some side notes here is, I think that there is a lot of talk on social media from the armchair therapists that we want an emotionally available man. He's got to be emotionally available, and all of this. But what does that even mean, right? We don't want our men to be our girlfriends and cry with us and emote with us and who's the one that's more upset, right? No, we don't want that. We do want our guy to be somewhat grounded and logical, but that doesn't mean that they have no ability to show up for you and be emotionally present and validate and to try and understand where you're coming from. So that is one way to look at it. And this is, the thing about it is like there is no perfect person. And for a man to learn how to do those things, he needs to have the skills. And if he didn't learn those skills growing up, how's he going to learn them? Well, he'll probably learn them if he cares about the woman that he's with who is expressing the things that she's unhappy with or that don't work for her. Because if a man really values you, they are not going to want to lose you over their own stupid behavior, right? If they truly want to keep you and value you, they're not going to flip it over onto you and cause drama, and they're not going to get mad at you for being upset over being hurt over something they did. That is manipulation. That is gaslighting. That is emotional abuse every single time. And if this is something you're experiencing on a regular basis, then yes, that is why you feel so crazy, why you feel so confused, and why every time you try to raise topics about things that you're not happy with or things that they're doing, it turns into a big fight. And you're like, what the hell just happened here? Because they're not taking ownership of their wacky behavior, wacko behavior, right? They're not. And again, as I've said before, there's a difference between taking ownership for mistakes or insensitive behavior and behaving in these ways that are linked to unhealthy psychological programming that lead them to act that way in the first place. You don't want someone that's raging at you and saying awful things to you and twisting things and making you feel insane, then to go, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry, over and over and over again for hurtful, damaging things. No, we're not looking for that kind of accountability. Accountability equals I need to figure myself out so I stop doing this so that I don't hurt you anymore, and I'm going to go fix myself, and that's that. No, they keep doing it over and over and over and saying, I'm sorry, here's some flowers, let's go on a trip, let's do this, let's do that. And it builds up and you eventually don't like them. You don't want anything to do with them. And they're like, why? I'm working on it. I'm doing better. What do you mean? I'm trying to change. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't expect me to do this overnight. Change takes time. Meanwhile, you are the punching bag for them while you keep giving access to them to do that to you. And so you have to be the one to put your foot down. You have to be the one to say, you don't get access to me anymore to do this to me. You can go work on your stuff, but I want nothing to do with it because I'm no longer putting myself in harm's way anymore with this. And that's where you have to go to. And this is where inside of my mentoring program and the cycle, I have a whole process in the program for how to know if he's changing, the signs and where to figure out, like, is it real change, is it not? But also how to do an intervention with your ultimatums if you truly want to do that. A lot of women in my program have done it, and it was the thing that gave them the confidence and clarity they needed to walk away. And then other women, before they even got to that section, were already decided. They're like, no, I've learned enough in this program. I don't want to do that. I've already made my decision, so I'm not going to do the intervention, and that's fine too. So it really depends on where you are in the process. But you have to get to a place, no matter what, where you are like, I am no longer mucking around in this. I'm over here doing my thing. If you are truly going to change, you go off and you figure that out. I don't want to have to lead that charge. I don't want to be involved in that. That is on you, and I'm going to be over here doing my thing, and that is that. And you have to get to that place. So there's no more of this, like this harmful interaction that's going on where you are trying to make them understand how they're hurting you so that they can get mad at you for being upset over their behavior. Like, it's crazy making. And so you have to take ownership for your role in it, that you keep going into it expecting different results. And I said this once to a counseling client very early on in my practice, where she kept going to, I believe it was her mother, to get validation or comfort or like a positive kind of response. And every time she got the same thing. And I said, you have to stop going to the candy store for tampons. And she laughed. And so I've used that one for a while. That's what you're trying to do every time you try to have that conversation once again about how he's hurt you, what he's done, what he's not doing, because you're showing him that, hey, like, she's still really wrapped up in me. This is great, right? It feeds the ego. Oh, look how much I mean to her, that I'm causing her this much to get into this much of a tizzy, and she's putting all this energy and focus on me, right? So you need to redirect that energy toward building yourself up.